How's it going, Jets fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Ryan Moran, and today we're going to take a look at superlatives for this New York Jets team during the 2022 season. Of course, a lot of talent on this roster, both offensive and defensive, but it's hard to choose, honestly. Look at some of these players, and it's like there's a couple options at best offensive player, at best defensive player, underrated additions, comeback players, a lot of guys to choose from, and some talented ones we have on this list today. For you guys ahead of the regular season, which is about a week away. So really excited about that. And, we're getting close to actual football, meaningful football. Hope your fantasy football drafts are going well and you're getting some good players. And hopefully Christian McCaffrey is healthy this year. I know one of you guys has Christian McCaffrey and you're like, please God, stay healthy. So I hope he stays healthy for you. But Ryan, before we dive into the superlatives, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, Alex. I mean, this is always a fun little, topic to kind of conversate over, really just to get an idea on, who some of the best, players can be and, prime performers for the Jets throughout the season. We got 8 specific topics we're going to go over today, some fun new players and, some players who, the Jets have invested a lot into in previous drafts who, we're really expecting a lot from this year. And, I think the 8, that we went over here, there's definitely some quality, players in play and, ultimately who we ended up putting together here.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at the offensive rookie of the year. Now, you really have 2 guys to choose from here, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Those are the ones you're like, okay, we expect big things. I guess Jermaine Johnson on the defensive side and, with Sauce Gardner, we'll talk about that too. But Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, I think that the wide receiver room is just a little bit too crowded for Garrett Wilson to have that significant of a season. And you really can't guarantee snaps to receivers all the times, right? You can't guarantee targets. If they're getting locked up, you don't really look their way, but there's always going to be touches for the running backs. There's always going to be rushing attempts, always going to be some passes out of the backfield. And Breece Hall, I think, is the obvious choice for offensive rookie of the year in terms of superlatives and the most likely to get that. And I actually, if you guys have the new Madden 23, I've been playing my friend who is the big Jets fan. He every single time uses them, and Breece Hall is a freaking tank in that game. I don't know what it is. He's just strong. He's quick as hell. I think his acceleration is like 92 already. He reminds me a lot, and I'm not saying he is this player, but his style reminds me a lot of Jonathan Taylor. I've said this many times. He's that one cut, get vertical, and run through the gaps, right? He doesn't get lazy in between the gaps. He freaking hits them hard, and he goes full power through them, full force, and he can break some tackles along the way and shake off some tacklers. So Breece Hall, I think, pretty underrated pass catcher as well. He's somebody that's going to be probably scratching away at Michael Carter's snaps as the season goes on. I think he's the RB1 right now. But Breece Hall, man, he's going pretty high in fantasy football drafts as well. I was pretty surprised to see how high he was going over some more established players, especially since it seems like there's going to be more of a package deal with the Jets, kind of reminiscent of the 49ers a little bit. Robert Saleh coming over from there, seeing, I guess you could say Elijah Mitchell, and they have Trey Sermon, even Jeff Wilson in the past, and they've had other guys to boot. And then Deebo Samuel obviously plays a big role in the running game as well. But Breece Hall and Michael Carter definitely splitting snaps there. What are your thoughts on Breece and his this upcoming season for him?
For sure. I mean, it's quite a conversation and just goes to show incredible progress for the Jets. I mean, that we're talking about both Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson as rookies in this offense. I mean, an offense that's, in past years been pretty painful to watch. And, really both of these guys, I think, are certainly, deserving. I'm with you, though. I think Breece, just based on the position he plays, is more likely. And I think you just look from a personnel standpoint, across the 3 skill positions, I think you're going to see a good, chunk of 2 tight ends between Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzomah, which off the bat, there's probably going to be a rotation of receivers between Elijah, Corey, Garrett, Barrios. So that right away. And, I think the receiver position just in this offense and, how wordy the verbiage is and the play calls and things like that, I think it just kind of, really steers more towards Breece making the immediate impact. And you said it. I mean, this guy is a pretty complete player with, the size and the speed combination. He's got, really in his zone outside scheme, he's got the traits when you look at just the patience, the vision, like you said, the one cut ability and how explosive he can be. And lastly, I mean, this guy's, like you said, very natural out of the backfield catching the football. Even in a couple of practices this summer, seeing his body control on, passes down the field really jumped out. Like we talk about what Garrett Wilson can do, contorting his body in the air, but I was equally as impressed for a running back what Breece was doing. I think the one play or 2 connections with Joe Flacco, one was down the seam, one was from the slot on a fade and practice with the Falcons. you said it. I mean, this guy's a very natural receiver, and I think a ballpark guesstimate for Brees in terms of scrimmage yardage, I would say, is about 1,200 to maybe 1,300. You look at maybe 800 to 1,000 on the ground, a couple hundred through the air. And I think the 1-2 punch from Michael Carter is going to be awfully electric for the Jets.
Absolutely. Definitely is going to be extremely exciting to see how they utilize them. I wonder if it's going to be like a Naheem Hines, Jonathan Taylor type of split, and seeing how they use him. But I think Michael Carter will be a little bit more involved than Naheem Hines is usually as a third down back or, more of like a 2-minute drill type of guy. But on the defensive side, you have Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson for the defensive rookie of the year superlative here. I think, just based on the usage and how good Sauce looked in the preseason, I think he probably is the most likely to get that nod there. I think Jermaine Johnson is a little bit not far off, but he's a year of development away from being that, significant impact type of player that you start on a daily basis or a weekly basis and you expect to produce. I think he's a little bit raw in the pass rush category. I think that he needs to develop a little bit more there. He's a little bit older at 24, I believe. One of the older rookies of this draft class, but Sauce Gardner, man, he's looked really good so far. I've been really, really convinced that he's going to have a really solid rookie season. I'm excited to see his growth and development as he gets better and better here. But, what are your thoughts on Sauce and why he could win Defensive Rookie of the Year?
For sure. I think it's very similar to what we said with Brees and Garrett. Another great conversation to really say that you have two legit players who could be very deserving. And I think you look at this summer, just some of the rankings that have been thrown around out there. I mean, both Sauce and Jermaine have landed in the top 10 of most. And, in some, they're both in the top 5. And I think, what it comes down to is just similar to what I said with Garrett. Like, Jermaine is joining a group where there's going to be a lot more rotating and there is a lot of depth. When you look at Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers on first and second down is still going to get opportunities from the edge, especially in run defense. Jacob Martin, I think he's going to have a pretty pivotal role. Bryce Huff, in preseason, Michael Clemens, like, there are a lot of guys. And I think the splash plays from Jermaine, like you said, the dirty work of stopping the run really isn't going to, jump out at people. But I think Jermaine is going to make an impact as a run defender. And I think in situations, just timely, rush reps, he'll show up and Jermaine's going to give some key sacks. But I think overall, Sauce, you just look at the pedigree, just how special he was in college. And look, it's the preseason, but the fact that he wasn't targeted in 3 games and we saw what was going on opposite him at times, obviously it wasn't very pretty. So I think Sauce, the height, the length, the athleticism, the quick twitch, the speed, all those things are well known. But I think it's this guy's intellect and just his love of the game, his work ethic, his knowledge. And to me, this guy can not just be a game changer on the field for the Jets, but I think he can be a CEO for this organization and someone who brings, a lot of credit and just respectability to the Jets. And they need something like that.
Yeah, they definitely do need something like that. And I think he has the charisma to really elevate everybody around him, the kind of energizer bunny, which I think every team kind of needs on both sides of the football. But one of those guys actually is Carl Lawson. We have his comeback player of the year. Now, Carl Lawson coming off the significant injury has looked really good so far, seems to be at 100% health. In 2020 with Cincinnati, had 5.5 sacks, 36 combined tackles, 32 QB hits. And, didn't really make an impact last year due to the injury. Suffering it before the season began. So that's unfortunate, but he's expected to be a pretty significant piece to this defensive line. I think, pairing him with Quintin Williams, you look at Bryce Huff, you look at Jermaine Johnson on the other side, you got John Franklin Myers, you got a really nice group of young players and guys that just aren't on the back end of their careers or in the prime of their careers. And I think Carl Lawson, despite the injury, is in the prime of his career right now. So I think that they're expecting him to be a significant force. He is a low center of gravity, a great bull rush. He really just overpowers guys. He lifts them off the ground, really strong arms. He really gets inside and he can use his weight pretty efficiently there. So, when you're looking at Carl Lawson, why do you think he can be the comeback player of the year?
For sure. I think it's really those 2 prime 2021 free agency signings you're looking at, between Carl and Corey Davis. And I think ultimately with Carl, you're just looking at a guy who, the Jets have not had that speed to power pass rusher who can just dominate games. And this guy had over 60 pressures the last full season he played and was healthy. Last summer, it was pretty well documented how dominant he was every single day. And it was a crushing blow to the Jets when he went down. And, I think there was some skepticism. There was also, some hope that knowing this guy's work ethic, he was going to bounce back. And I think you saw that this summer in both training camp and the one preseason game he played against the Giants. This is a guy, not just with the speed to power, but the hand technique, the arsenal of moves, just the consistent plan that's needed from a dominant edge rusher. And to me, I think, like you said, Carl, Quintin Williams, that 1-2 punch, one on the inside, one on the exterior, it's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch this year.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And then you look at the underrated addition, Jordan Whitehead coming over from the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now the Jets, obviously, they've had pretty solid safeties the last couple of years. Marcus May, Jamal Adams, and now you're transitioning to Jordan Whitehead, who is a little bit underrated. Didn't sign a crazy deal that was going to hamper the Jets down the road, but definitely one that was serviceable for a starting level player who can make a significant impact. And they could move on after the season with minimal dead cap, so they have a little bit of flexibility down the road. But Jordan Whitehead's looked good this preseason. He's turning into a really solid leader. Tony Adams, we spoke about him the other day, and he was like, Jordan Whitehead's been like a brother to me. Him and Lamarcus Joyner. So that's a really good thing to see that, your big free agent signing isn't just taking a back seat and collecting his paycheck and, enjoying that. He's taken a step forward and actually becoming a leader and showing his value in many different ways. So I'm curious to see how well he can perform in the first year with the Jets here. But I think that the style that they run, he's aggressive, has some ball skills. I think he's going to be a pretty solid player. And, why do you think he's such an underrated addition to this defense?
For sure. I think, in most years he's probably talked about more, but the Jets were just so busy and active with the splash moves. And obviously it was, filed up there with the draft. And I think, to me with Jordan Whitehead, you said it, just the mindset, the physicality, the attacking style this guy plays with. I mean, the Jets sorely lacked it last year. And I think in the box, you're really going to see this guy, against the run, pressuring the quarterback and playing in zone coverage underneath. Really, the ways you're going to see him make an impact. And this is a 25-year-old player who should really just be hitting his prime years. I think it's always ideal to really sign younger players when, they could be hitting their best years coming from another team. And I think, like I said, the sauce, the DJ Reed additions, all the flashy new skill talent offensively gets, the buzz, but keep an eye on Jordan Whitehead in his first year with the Jets to really make an impact. And he brings a known commodity to the safety position that was desperately needed.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at the offensive side, a breakout player of the year for the Jets. And I think that, some people might think it's Elijah Moore, which, is a pretty damn good guess. I probably would consider utilizing him in this position. But I do think that we have another guy who's kind of underrated, who, the quarterbacks really like so far, specifically Zach Wilson. That's Tyler Conklin. Who's coming over from the Minnesota Vikings after spending 4 years from 2018 2021. I think he's 27 years old now, just turned 27 about a month ago. Had 593 yards and 3 touchdowns last year with a 70.1% catch rate. Really good hands, a guy who can also contribute as a blocker in the run game as well. So Tyler Conklin definitely has an opportunity here to carve out a significant role for himself. You got CJ Uzoma as well. But I think, they'll probably do different things. Conklin is more of a security blanket underneath, while Zoma has a little bit more speed, athleticism, maybe attacking the seams. What are your thoughts on Tyler Conklin and how he can really help, I guess, Zach Wilson's development this year?
For sure. I think this is a guy who, with all the additions made to the tight end position, is going to be really the lead catalyst in the passing game. And that's going to show up just with, continued targets. I mean, this is a player, his first 3 years was, minimally, used and was not really much of a priority in the Vikings offense. And then last year gets that opportunity and he's able to showcase what he can do as a route runner, just how reliable, like you said, he's a security blanket with his hands. He's very trustworthy. And I think you saw those things this summer in training camp and the preseason, the green and white scrimmage. This is a guy who can, over the middle, get open, and he's always going to secure the football. And I think that's just such a key thing, similar to Elijah Moore. I mean, you just have guys who, are like automatic, reeling the ball in. And I'm excited for Conklin. I think with, like I said, continued progression just in terms of the target share going his way, I think you're going to see this guy really break out.
Yeah, he definitely can. And I think Zach Wilson's going to be the one that benefits the most. For offensive player of the year for the Jets, I would go with Laken Tomlinson. I think, that was your pick as well. He's a guy coming over from San Francisco, a dangerous running game that they have. And Laken Tomlinson can carve out bodies, right? He can move the line of scrimmage. Breece Hall, we talked about him as the offensive rookie of the year for the Jets team. I think Laken Tomlinson is going to play a big part in that. He can really move bodies. He's, alongside Dwayne Brown and, our George Fant. I guess Dwayne Brown's playing left tackle, right? So, you got him next to Laken, two esteemed veterans. And I think that both of those guys together could really move the line of scrimmage and do some good stuff in pass protection. Zach Wilson, God knows it, he needs that pass pro right now, and especially coming off that knee issue, that significant scare. Laken's going to play a big part of the equation in helping him stay upright and then carving out some running lanes for Breece Hall and Michael Carter. What are your thoughts on Laken Tomlinson and the quality he's bringing to this offensive line?
For sure. I think, the big ticket free agency signing, I mean, not only coming off of a career year and, having so much experience in this offensive system that the Jets run, but just the you know this guy is going to be available not only every game but every single practice, and that to me is huge. I mean, why the Jets have missed on so many guys in free agency that they've invested so much into in the past. I mean, guys just not being on the field, and Laken's one of those guys who you just know you can count on every single day. And not only that, but he can be a dominant force. His presence is going to be felt. The technique, like you said, in both the run and the passing game. This is a guy who, has produced at a really high level. And to me, with last year being his career year, I think you can really just expect, similar type of dominant production as, one of the best left guards in football. And really, he should be one of the Jets' top players this entire season.
He definitely should be. He definitely got paid to be. And I think that, veteran leadership definitely stands out as well. But the defensive player of the year for this Jets team, Quintin Williams, this is someone who's been waiting a long time to really break out. He's made flashes. He's made an impression, but he hasn't been that Pro Bowl level player just yet. He showed it this year. He's showing it this preseason. We've seen the best of Quintin Williams, and hopefully he can compound and just keep building on it, keep growing. And keep producing. And I think that this is going to be a big season for him. He has a 5th-year option next year, and then he's looking to get paid maybe after this season, lock him down long-term and say, we have our guy, he's developed, taking him a little bit of time, but now he's producing at a very high level, and doing some good stuff in the running game as well. So Quintin Williams, definitely one of the Jets' better players, and one guy who, honestly, he could be the breakout this year too. Another guy that could slot into that role. But why do you think he'll be the defensive player of the year specifically?
For sure. I mean, he was even my runner-up here for the MVP, which we're going to, finish up with next. And I think with Q, it's just time. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's, likely after the season going to command one of, if not the biggest contracts in the history of the New York Jets. And I mean, he was drafted 3rd overall to be a core difference maker and a long-term asset to this team. And I think the situation's right. I mean, just hearing him even speak to the media today, I mean, the collection of talent that's around him is better than it's ever been. He's now in the 2nd year of the system that, fits his set of skills best. And I think it's meant to be for Quintin this year. I think not only just the sack numbers and the pressure amounts, but game to game, like this guy's got to make his presence felt consistently, really impact drives and, stall them ultimately. And I think this is, the breakout year for Quintin, like you said, and he's going to end up, being one of the best players on the Jets in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you look at the MVP of this team, and obviously you could probably make the argument that Offensive Player of the Year and MVP go hand in hand. And Elijah Moore is that guy, right? Elijah Moore is the one that changes the dynamic of this Jets offense. Zach Wilson, yes, he is the one that's going to really propel them to success. But Elijah Moore has the capability to change everything, right? He is a guy that you put the ball in his hands, he could turn it into a touchdown. You put the ball in his hands on a 3rd and long, he could get to that 1st down marker. He does it all for this team, and you can use him in so many different ways. I'm excited personally to see how they split up that slot time with Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, because Moore in the slot attacking the seams is also a very dangerous concept, and I think that they should extrapolate on that. They should not keep him out of the slot because he needs to be a boundary receiver. You also have Corey Davis. Move these guys around, get them involved at different spots, confuse defenses. They don't have to be one-trick ponies. They can do so many things. Elijah Moore is one of those guys. And I think that after what he did last year with Mike White at freaking quarterback, guys, Elijah Moore has the capability to change this offense for the better long-term. Also, he's been relatively healthy. So knock on wood on that end too. But, what are your thoughts on Elijah Moore, the season he could have, and why he could be the breakout guy here too, honestly?
For sure. I think Elijah's primed to be the Jets' best player this year. You just look at the final 6 games of last year, how dominant this guy was and how unfortunate that injury really was to end his season when he was really just hitting his stride, and expect him to just build on that moving forward. I think whether it was Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco this summer, I mean, you saw a guy who can just easily create separation for himself. Like we said with Tyler Conklin, I mean, this guy is very sure-handed catching the football. You never really have to worry about drops and what he can do with the ball in his hands. Like you said, I mean, he's very dynamic after the catch, whether it's speed, quickness. This is a top-tier athlete, and you just expect plays all over the field. I mean, the versatility which he offers, 4.3 speed down the field, over the middle last year. I mean, he's fearless, and he plays bigger than that size that he's listed at, and around the line of scrimmage, whether it's out wide in the slot. I mean, this is a guy in the screen game, jet sweeps, end arounds. There's just endless ways and opportunities that Michael Floyd is going to have at his disposal to get the football. And I think he's going to go for 1,000 yards this year, my expectation. And that's going to be huge for this Jets offense.
It absolutely is, guys. But if you have any differing opinions here for Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Underrated Edition, Breakout, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, I'd love to hear your perspectives in the YouTube comments below. Because honestly, I there's a couple players here where I'm like, there could be a couple of options for breakout player of the year for the Jets, MVP, comeback player of the year. There's a lot of different options for the Jets to really look upon here. Honestly, another breakout option, low key, honorable mention, Michael Carter II. Just gonna toss that in there too. Definitely a lot of talent around. Like I'm saying, this team is deep, man. You're not gonna find a Jets team in the last decade, maybe not decade, maybe 5-6 years that's this deep, right? Across the board, 7 players got picked up off waivers from this Jets team, guys. This is the best roster that we've had in a long time. You know what I mean? If there's any time to exercise that rookie window, this is it. And if Zach Wilson doesn't end up panning out, look at all the talent you have. You go and you trade for the Aaron Rodgers. You go and get the guy that's going to help you win a World Series, a Super Bowl now. Maybe they win the World Series too. They're so good. This is an exciting time to be a Jets fan. You see the progress being made here and all the talent across the roster. You can't even choose who your freaking breakout player is going to be. You can't even choose who your MVP is going to be. So definitely a time to be excited. I hope you guys are as well. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Almost at 1,000 subs. Really appreciate the love. We're getting there fast. It's going to be a really fun season. We'll be doing, of course, our daily episodes. If not, every 2 days. Make sure you guys are caught up with everything, and going to be getting you guys all the necessary information for the games as well. So appreciate all the love and hope you guys had a fantastic Labor Day. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Jets episode.